Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today we are talking with Mark Earlix, and Mark is a healer. And I am so excited to have him on the show today to share with us what he does and how he does it. And he has a special gift for all of you who are listening today, and I hope that you will take advantage of it. So welcome, Mark. It's so nice to have you join us.
It's so nice to be here, Jill. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us, what do you do? I know you're a healer, but I'm mystified by the whole thing.
Well, me too. And after 48 years of working with this stuff, I'm still mystified with it. And I let basically, I talk to the old man or old woman upstairs, which is really inside, and say, okay, boss, take over. And it pretty much takes over with most people. And the only thing that matters to me most is that people get to go through a change in their life, whether it be physiological, biological, neurological, skeletal, whatever, emotional. I work with that as well with most people. And sometimes I'll be able to perceive things where dynamics started in their life, the causal moments started in their life, the bruises started in their life that they're experiencing 5 years or 50 years later, or even 70 years later. And we all have this ability to work with these things. And that's what I teach. I have apprentice programs. I have appointments with people. There's free healing circles that I have, not only online, but when I do travel. And I'm starting to pick up again after a couple of years where people get to congregate. And generally, the healing circles that I offer, they used to have between 50 to 250 people, just through word of mouth. And now they're starting to build again. The online healing circles are awesome. People will sometimes feel me, my hands on them, or something changing in their body. And it's a natural phenomenon. Some people will feel heat or cold, electricity or staticky sensation. Other people will feel like an emotional catharsis, if they should. The ones that do need to, the ones that don't need to. There's no right or wrong or good or bad in the mind of what I call creator. Or the godliness, as I refer to it. Some people call it source. Some people call it universal consciousness. Some people call it the nameless one. The godliness doesn't care what you call it. It's in all ways of life, even if you're agnostic or whatever, or existentialist or whatever. There's usually something that someone always believes in. And I go directly to the source. Some people may, as those sensations that they feel that I mentioned, as I mentioned, some do and some don't. It doesn't matter, as I mentioned. And some people will find themselves healing most immediately. And most people, they'll notice a change just right away. Other people, as soon as they say walk out the door or turn off the computer, they may sense something happen or beginning to happen in their life, or they may notice it, who knows, 2 weeks or 2 months later, thinking to themselves, oh my God, when did this leave me? If that should be the case. You know, everyone has the possibility, the potential to have their life change. And as long as we're not in control of the change, because if we are, then we're playing God, and it's just not going to work or it won't last. And I've worked with and taught, I don't know, approximately 25 to 35,000 people over the years. And this is my life. And doing it for 48 years and totally enjoy it.
It's so fascinating. I worked with Lynn McTaggart's intentions group, the eight intentions, eight or something like that.
Cool.
I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but
No, so sorry.
the intentions part of it is kind of struck me as what some of what you're talking about in terms of healing, spontaneous healing. I've experienced it personally with
Cool.
I had I had my thumb, the bone of my thumb. I was building a camper out of wood and I hit my thumb with the pneumatic nail and it went
Ooh,
in and hit my bone in my thumb. And it hurts so bad, let me tell
I
you. That
bet.
night was the intention meeting group night. And they held an intention for it to heal. And it was in so much pain before the intention. And after 20 minutes, it was totally gone. I could bend my thumb again. It was like I never had hurt it at all.
That's
So when you
lovely. Yeah.
talk about these kinds of things, it's like I know firsthand that it does work. That's like the right word for it, but healings do happen.
Yeah. And, also it gets into our part of trusting. Trust is everything, I think. Otherwise, we're just, looking for the quickie healing, and it's just not going to happen. Say, okay, boss, if you're really real, do this, or I wish this would happen. That's not taking responsibility and the empowerment that comes with our word. And I equate word with the original authority, the continuing echoing that's going on for all life, for the manifestation. So we have this ability within us to come forth and say, now I want this done, and therefore it will be. And if we trust that, then it will be. There'll be a change in a person's life. I'm not a prophet or soothsayer or anything like that, but we do have the ability to do that and to have it manifest in front of us. And we don't, when we come in and say, "Oh, it's going to happen in 14 seconds and 39 milliseconds," now, then you're trying to play God in that, and it doesn't work that way. It takes a total trust, a total submission. That's where the empty space is within us. It's really no different than uh, you know saying, hey, look, I want this to happen, and therefore it will be, versus emptying yourself, being at the lowest place of yourself. It's no different than that. It's just like the times we go through something and, we're going through dilemmas, dramas, and traumas of life, and we're in an empty place. We're helpless and say our life is falling apart. And I've been there, done that too. It's when we are at that empty place, that's when things have the ability to come forth. And all we have to do is be empty. When we start saying, okay, that worked, I'm fine now, then immediately we're becoming complacent and we're not keeping up our prayer.
It's always a communication between God, source, the universe. I believe it's the energy that is in all of us that just moves around in the form of a vibration and sustains us all in this format that we show up in, though we are not real. And even the experiences we have are they're sort of real but not. It's to elicit uh, an action or a reaction or an experience. I think
Yes,
experience is probably the better word.
yes, yeah. And we live here on Earth on this little tiny, tiny orb in the middle of space. And so here we are, and what we're here for a purpose, and that I really believe the whole rhyme and reason, uh, and being no fate and no destiny except for one, and that's just to get to know ourselves, and that's the whole purpose of it. And it's almost like a Groundhog Day in some respect. We're experiencing all these things and we re-experience them in our lives. Someone says something to us when we're 5 years old, and or gives us a knuckle sandwich on the arm, and it's like a bruise in our life, and it's 5 years, 50 years later that we start experiencing arm problems or shoulder problems. And so these things have influence on us. Here we are living here on this tiny little orb to get to know ourselves, so-called reincarnation for those that are advocate to it.
Mhm.
Uh, why else would there be except to know ourselves? Why come back 5,000 or 50,000 or 500,000 times unless it was to get to know ourselves eventually?
I think it's more than just getting to know ourselves, it's getting to know source because we are
Exactly.
source. We are just pieces of it. And
Precisely.
and it gets to experience things
Yes.
that it can't know because it knows everything. But
Yes.
by incorporating into these different beings, which are all connected, it can experience surprise or pain or challenges that and get to experience the going through the process of it.
Yes. Yes. And here we are, when I'm referring to getting to know ourselves, that's our true self inside, which is like the seed within us that is in the mind of the great creator,
Mhm.
or whatever we refer to it as. And uh, we have an opportunity to delve into that as we become quiet. When we're not quiet, we're busy with ourselves, just subverting, everything, derailing it. And then as we become quiet, then we get to start to experience a sense of it within us. It's always guiding, always talking, always sharing with us. And all we have to do is listen. And that's getting to know our truer self, as you're referring to. And I think that's great. Otherwise, what we're doing is we're getting lost in our thinking. And there's just too many things at once. So those are the times that we're complacent and not paying attention to our source and the divinity, the godliness, whatever you want to call it, And I love it. I personally, we have an opportunity to meditate, and a lot of people say they meditate, but a true meditation, before we're capable of meditating, um, there's something that we do. We wonder about things in life. And I think that wondering about things in life is no different than we wonder about something, and all of a sudden we're doing the dishes or we're taking a shower, and then all of a sudden a aha moment comes to us. It's something that we didn't know about, or something that is elaborated on to us, that of what we didn't understand or know about. And so we're getting that from the truer self inside, which is an answer, which gives the answer because we're open for it. and we wonder about things, and that leads into contemplation. And contemplation is the actual activity of meditation. So as we purposefully train ourselves, learn how to wonder about things, then that goes into the contemplation automatically. And that enables us sometime down the road to be able to find meditation a little bit easier in life. Many people talk about meditation, but very few actually do it. And an idea comes to them, though, and it'll happen within moments or the next day while you're, as I said, doing dishes or in the shower. All of a sudden, as we're focusing on something, that's when the mind is capable of perceiving from the intuition, which is the inner teaching. If that makes
That's
sense.
fascinating. It does totally make sense to me. I'm over here like there's so many ways I would
No, I know. I'm fascinated too by it all. So
the mind is amazing, and it it works it works to make things true in our lives. And if we're curious, curiosity is just like the opening of the door to the
yes,
possible. And I was just like, yeah.
yes, yeah, and that's always the beginning. And no matter how deep we are into whatever venue we're in, that's just the beginning always. And we start to learn communication. I think the fastest, quickest way to communicate is through thought, which emanates forth from us. Even when we're having a dream, you won't hear the words coming out of someone's mouth in the dream. There's an emanation. It's almost like a bubble that pops upon us, and we get it from all directions. And there's an awareness that happens, but we wouldn't be able to do it unless we're in that particular world for that moment. And it's available to us, it's open to us, and we're in sync with it because it's almost like being thrown into that world to be available to us. So it's the same thing in working with the healing. When I say touch someone or put my hands on someone, or when I think about someone, something's happening. I know that. I've learned to trust that, as we began the conversation with. And that I'm able to communicate with that person's body in the consciousness of the distress. And then, and this is what I teach as well, we're able to manipulate the energies and tell it to go take a hike and get out of Dodge. And we can transform it in bringing other energies in of health and wellness and feeling better in the life. It's even with, say, someone has a injured shoulder. It's say if I would put my hands on someone that has that injury, I'm talking to that consciousness to say, take a hike, boss, or whatever you are. And I watch it as it leaves in almost like a vapor. And then it's putting something else in there of that health. And most readily, or whatever the person's needs are, it will transform. It's not always the instantaneous healing that's necessary. Sometimes a person has to have it develop within them. Maybe that's what's necessary. I've even worked with people there was this one story. This woman called me up and said, "Hey, look, my son's in hospitals. He found unconscious. He was an alcoholic, drug addict, and everything else. And he's still unconscious. Doctor's taking him up to give him a liver transplant. He's 40 years old." And so I said, "Okay, I will gladly do prayer work with this fellow." And it's not really work; it's just focus. And talking to the old man or woman upstairs, saying, "Take over, boss." And so, but as I was working with him, all of a sudden I had a vision of this little tiny fellow with a green cap and clad in green, and he had a pickaxe and a chisel, and he was hammering away at his liver. And I burst out laughing, actually, and I continued it a little bit. The whole thing lasted for maybe about 15, 30 seconds. I don't know. And then it ended. And the woman called me up that night and saying, "Hey, look, the doctor was taking him up for surgery, and he got the latest test results of his liver, and he said he had the liver of a 20-year-old. He didn't understand that," or, stuff like that. But it's learning to focus. And that's the way we get to wonder about things. That's the way we get to contemplate about things and be shown things. And we all have availability to it. It's just allowing ourselves to, whatever your intent is. And we
Can I
have
ask you a
that.
question in there?
I'm sorry?
Can I ask you a question in there?
Sure, of course.
You're talking about the vapor that came off on the shoulder and the
Yes.
little elfish being in the
Yeah,
liver. Do you think that these injuries have consciousness
it
are
has
entities?
consciousness. Good question. That's an excellent question. Um, it does have consciousness, but it has a simple consciousness. The only thing it knows is itself. It
Okay.
doesn't know anything else. It's almost like the mind of fear. And it doesn't know anything else. It's really like a child that is constantly bugging us to get our attention. But it doesn't have to retain. It doesn't have to stay there. It can go take a hike, as far as I'm concerned. And that's the power of life and death over creation. So when we know that, and that's what we're learning to develop within ourselves for the manifestation of life. But it's replacing a destructive quality for a constructive quality with a constructive quality. And that's what we're learning to do. And when we're working with healing, I teach these things, classes on them, apprentice training, which I have one coming up in Phoenix on the 1st anyway, or the 2nd and 3rd. But we have these things available to us as we take on our knowing, our authority, the original word, as we started off with. And that's the authority of things.
Well, let me ask you one more question.
Of
This is
course.
really fascinating to me. So, as a human being, we have a consciousness that is like the overarching consciousness. I
Yes.
personally think that we might actually have several at any given time. You talk about split personalities and stuff like that. I think we all have
I
that.
have many.
I think we all do
How
because
can
of different
we,
things that have
yeah,
happened. But
how can we shove off a schizophrenic when we all have personalities within us of different activities of life,
yeah, so if I'm trying to understand about the injuries, so it's kind of like a little bit of a smaller, if you have these different personalities which are different consciousnesses, then the injuries or the wounds that we sustain, and sometimes there's a train of thought that your organs can become diseased by trauma in your life or different experiences that
Sure.
you've had in your life. Um, that's where the body code comes in, and it
Yeah,
can.
developed through emotional, mental, physical, dilemma, dramas, and traumas of life. But what happens is oftentimes when we witness something, we read something, we hear about something, we experience something, what happens is that if it's not objectively observed at that moment, then it turns into a memory within us. It turns into a bruise within us. And that's what we're dealing with later in life, 5 years or 50 years later, that memory, that bruise. And that's what crops up again. But it's all that distress is really just being in the memory. It's in that sense, it doesn't belong there because we weren't born to be destroyed within unless we inherited something that we're here to work with in life or to be made at ease with. Even if we have a disease, we can have diseases, and I've seen this with cancers, I've seen this with other diseases as well, that we're born into. It was inherent, through the lineage, and we're here to experience that, to become at peace, and then we don't have to experience it again later. And I've seen people with these diseases that still had the disease that, say, if I worked with them, but it no longer bothered them in their life, physically, emotionally, mentally, or anything else. And I've seen people that were sent home with to die with cancer. They were supposed to die within weeks or days or months, and they lived a fulfilling life where they had full of energy, joy, peace, everything. It came upon them from within them, though. And people call it great miracles, but we're the miracle. There's nothing externalized that isn't internalized.
Yeah. Gosh, so fascinating.
For me too. Me too.
So do you want to tell the audience what you have in store for them?
Yeah. Oh, matter of fact, I have if anyone's interested in a 20-minute appointment with me, I would only be charging them $55. And they can go to my website to contact me or call me directly. My website is www, of course, Mark, M-A-R-K, Earlix, EARLIX.com. And a lot of information on the website. And it's actually being redone right now over the next day or two. So it might be bad timing. Or, and again, that's markearlix.com, EARLIX. And the contact number for me is 888-380-6388. And you can call me directly. If I don't answer, that means I'm with someone, working with someone, or busy doing something. And whatever, I'm constantly working. But I take calls up to 10 at night my time. I'm in Boulder, Colorado, and that's mountain time. And if you leave a message, I'll contact you within 24, 48 hours, depending upon my schedule. And
that's perfect.
Yeah, I love working with people. I got classes online. They're just phenomenal. And I'm on Facebook. I'm on the other medias as well. And I sometimes make comments on Facebook. Whatever. I give a free healing circle online, classes online, and I have a healing clinic online. And I do travel a lot, various peoples and churches and stuff like that, or private organizations or individuals. They sponsor me to go to their areas. And that's what I do in my life. That's everything. I'm writing, and I even have some books out and some audio tapes by Nightingale Conant. And then I got a new publisher who's also putting my book out worldwide in November and doing an audio book on that as well, the new revised edition. And I don't know what else.
And what's the name of the book?
Awaken the Healer Within. And that's going to be an audio book. And I also have spiritual meditations and exercises that this new publisher is putting out. Everything's on Amazon and getting put up on Amazon for the worldwide distribution.
We will be sure and put those links in the show notes so people can find you.
Please.
So what's the one thing you'd like to leave the audience with today?
That there's this just came to me while we were chatting a little bit. There's a real simple exercise. If you can imagine with your eyes closed, see, even when you're at a real restful place, if you can imagine someone that isn't feeling well, imagine them being a stick figure, and imagine yourself, say if there's something wrong with them, they have an injury in their body, or they have a distress in their life, a disease or whatever. If you can imagine the stick figure and imagine your hands, that means to image in action. That's what imagination is, to image in action. It's not pretend, it's not fantasy. In putting your hands on that area and imagining the hands of the creator, the hands of source, the hands of super consciousness or universal mind, watching those light hands go into that affected area and watching it change from distress to feeling better. And as soon as you have that picture, and you could try this 1,000 times to get to that place where you see it, then let it go, get out of Dodge. And then if you can contact them or whatever the next day or the day after, you'll notice that something has changed with them. And as you practice that, that can develop into greater and greater and greater, a way of working with healing. So
I'm going to try that today. I have somebody that I can try it on.
Yay.
Get
but trust it.
I totally trust it. I've seen so many unexplained things happen in my life that it's just like, yeah.
Lovely.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mark. This has been a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate you.
It was fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.